Hello, 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 and welcome back to our weekly Sunday school lesson. I am Elder Latanya Millican of the All Nations Church in Oakland, California. My pastor is Bishop Terrence L. Millican. His wife is Lady Regina Blake Millican, and this is Lesson 7 in our winter quarter of our weekly Sunday school lesson. The date of this lesson is January the 16th, 2022. We are in the book of John, highlighting the 16th chapter, the 19th through the 33rd verse. And our subject today is peace and trouble. And if you are celebrating a birthday, anniversary, a new job, a new baby, you got engaged, bought a new house, whatever you're celebrating, we want to celebrate along with you. So congratulations and God bless you. Now let's just go to our lesson. Today, we're going to do a little reading, so make sure you have your favorite translation. We want to make sure we're reading this year. And let me just give you just a quick backdrop of where we are. We are still, our lesson is still in the upper room. Well, our lesson setting is in the upper room, and Jesus is having his teaching session. He is continuing really to show the disciples what's going to happen. And so he's just said, a little while and you shall not see me, and again a little while and you shall see me, because I go to the Father. And they were confused. They didn't understand. And they wanted to ask him what was he talking about. But no one had the courage to ask the question. And Jesus knew that they were pondering and wanted to ask the question. So let's pick up where we are. That's where our lesson starts today. Jesus respond. It's in the, again, 16th chapter of John, the 19th verse. And we're going to read a little bit today, and then we'll do a high-level review. How about that? All right. Are you with me? St. John, the 16th chapter and the 19th verse. Let's see. And I'm reading the way. Jesus realized they wanted to ask him about it. So he said, "Are you asking yourselves what I meant? I said a little while you won't see me. But a little while after that, you will see me again. I tell you the truth, you will weep and mourn over what is going to happen to me." And we'll talk about that. "But the world will rejoice. You will grieve, but your grief will suddenly turn to wonderful joy. It will be like a woman suffering the pains of labor. When her child is born, her anguish gives way to joy because she has brought a new baby into the world. So you have sorrow now, but I will see you again. And then you will receive and rejoice, and no one can rob you of that joy. At that time, you won't need to ask me anything. I tell you the truth, you will ask the Father directly, and he will grant your request because you use my name. You haven't done that before. Ask using my name, and you will receive, and you will have abundant joy." We're going to stop at the 25th verse, and we're going to talk about this. And so Jesus was referring to the upcoming events. He was going to be crucified and then be resurrected. And he says here, you will weep and mourn, but the world will rejoice. You will grieve, but your grief will suddenly turn into wonderful joy. So what was about to happen is that Jesus was going to be arrested in Gethsemane. He was going to go to trial, and he was going to be found guilty, and they were going to crucify him. And his impending death by crucifixion, it was the worst type of punishment. And what they were going to witness was going to be so devastating. And all of the things that Jesus had forewarned them, they were going to forget about it. This conversation that he's having with them, he's preparing them, forewarning them, because he wants them to have peace in this troubled time. He understands what's going to happen, and he's helping them through the process. Jesus wants us to have peace in troubled times. And so let's kind of just I want to just give you a little quick picture of the crucifixion. We know we see pictures of it, but the crucifixion was for a condemned man. They would whip him, and when they whipped Jesus, we knew we understood. The scripture tells us he took 39 stripes, which was, I believe, the maximum. And when you are crucified, you drag the crossbeam of your cross to your place of punishment. You are stripped of your clothes. You are bound fast with outstretched arms to the crossbeam. And so, you see Jesus stretched out like this, okay? And they're either fastened with a rope, or they nail firmly through the wrist. The crossbeam is raised high against the upright shaft and made fast to about 9 to 12 feet from the ground. And the Roman soldiers, the Romans would sometimes just allow the individuals that are being crucified to die, and they would leave their remains there, and the flesh would just, okay, that's a morbid type, but that's what would happen. And then the feet were tightly bound or nailed to the upright shaft as well. There was a ledge inserted about halfway upright the shaft to give just some support to the body, and rarely later on in the process they would put a little ledge for the feet. And over the sign, so you were stretched out like this, nailed to the cross. You guys know the image, and then there was a sign with your name and your crime. Okay, now how you died was the death occurred through a combination of things. It was the constraint of blood circulation, organ failure, asphyxiation as the body strained under its own weight. And people with no civil rights were crucified, either slaves, pirates, religious agitators, and people would stay alive on that cross sometimes for days. And so when you think about this, we see the pictures. It's an agonizing death. And so this is what Jesus was telling them. When you see what's going to happen to me, you are going to weep. You're going to grieve. But that grieving is not going to last, because I'm going to die. You won't see me because I'm going to go into the grave. And in 3 days, I will be resurrected. And so Jesus compared this. He compared this to a woman having a baby. A woman suffering pains of labor. And my daughter-in-law is with child, and she's beginning her second trimester, and she's having the regular discomforts and nausea and all of the things that come along with being pregnant. And so we, my sisters and I, we keep reminding her, the first trimester is the worst. The second trimester, things get a little bit easier. And so she's now week 2, I believe, in her second trimesters. And then so I asked my son how she's doing. He says, Mama, it's worse. So I'm not laughing, LaShawn. But when you think about this, as I was reading and studying, mothers, I know I have some mothers. When you are carrying a child, you remember your trimesters. There are 3 trimesters, 1, 2, and 3. Give me your comments. Which was your worst trimester? Mine was the first. And most women, because I've kind of looked at some polls, most women say either the first trimester or the 3rd trimester is the worst. But anyway, Jesus was saying that, and we understand. So we as women, we understand. We understand the discomfort of that first trimester. You know, there's you're oh my God, there's nauseous, you're vomiting, you're exhausted, you're sick. But then in the 3rd trimester, you swollen, you're urinating all the time, and you can't sleep because of this baby in your belly. But anyway, so Jesus is just letting them understand that even though a woman goes through all this and then she has these labor pains, now you guys, you know. And he's saying that, yeah, when you bring the baby into the world, you forget about all that. I mean, you don't really forget, but you get over it. And so Jesus is saying that it's just like that. That's what's going to happen, is that it's going to be, you're going to go through so much. In fact, you're going to forget about everything I'm telling you, but I want you to have peace at this time. So I'm sharing this with you so that you will have peace, because you will be able to go to the Father and to ask him in my name. You won't need to ask me questions any longer. This is so exciting. So let's keep reading. We stopped at the 25th verse. And I have spoken these matters in figure of speech. But soon I will stop speaking figuratively, and I will tell you plainly all about the Father. Then you will ask in my name. I'm not saying I will ask the Father on your behalf, for the Father himself loves you dearly because you love me and believe that I came from God. Yes, I came from the Father into the world, and now I will leave the world and return to the Father. And so this is what Jesus is explaining. He is going to go through the horrible experience of a crucifixion, die, and be resurrected on the 3rd day. And then he's going to come and spend some time with them, about 40 days, and then he's going to ascend to the Father to be with the Father. Let's read on. Verse 31, Jesus asks, do you finally believe? Do you finally believe? Verse 32. But the time is coming indeed. It's here now when you will be scattered. In other words, what's about to happen is going to cause you to scatter. Each one going his own way, leaving me alone. Yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. I have told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. That's our scripture reading. And so Jesus is preparing them because he knows what's about to happen, what's about to transpire. And so we've talked about what Jesus was trying to explain to them, the disciples. What they were getting ready to witness was going to be heartbreaking. And it was going to be a dark time for them. And they were going to just forget about everything he had said. And I'm reminded of times where we know the scripture, but when hard times come, situations come, we get in survivor mode. You're just trying to survive what's happening. and the scripture go right out of your head. It go right out of your mind. So I would never in this situation judge the disciples, because I'm putting myself in their shoes, because I know what happens in my flesh sometimes. I sometimes forget that the Lord is always with me. And he said he'll always be with me. But yet sometimes I feel alone. When trouble comes, hard times come. And sometimes it comes like one thing after another, after another, after another. Because in this world, we will have trials. We will have troubles. There is evil in this world. And a lot of people blame God. God let this happen. No, there's evil in the world. And we sin. We sin by nature. We know that the moral standard of this world is not where it should be. And we know we have an adversary. And if you don't know, there is an adversary that wants you to succumb to your trouble and succumb to your problems and your issues. But Jesus is saying, I want you to have peace. In this lesson, he's saying, I want you to have peace. I'm forewarning you. It's going to be hard, but I'm going to be with you. You may not see me. You may not feel me, but I'm there with you. So I'm forewarning you. I'm letting you know because I want you to have peace. Jesus wants us to have peace in troubled times. He wants us to have peace through this COVID. He wants us to have peace through this political unrest. He wants us to have peace with the issues and the troubles that we have in our lives. Because even though there's evil in the world, God can take what evil things and bring good out of it. Have you ever been in a situation where you went through, and after you went through, you look back and you said, wow, I know God brought me through that. You could not only see that he brought you through, but when you get deep with it, you can see his purpose with bringing you through it. And so this is an exciting lesson. I didn't finish it all. I didn't go all the way through. But Jesus wants us to have peace. He is the high priest. He is the mediator. He went to the Father and is our mediator. He has not left us. Although we can't see him, he's still with us. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything in my notes. So let's just see what the actual aim of the lesson is as we prepare for next week. The aim of today's lesson, to see how Jesus finishes his farewell disclosure to his disciples by promising both suffering and joy. We will have suffering, but soon we will have joy. The principle of the lesson is to comprehend that Jesus has overcome the world that causes our suffering, so we must remain faithful to him. And how we apply this lesson? We remain devoted to serving Jesus as we walk with him and suffer with him every day. You will suffer when you stand up for right, and you stand up for righteousness, and you stand against immorality and sin and wrongdoing. You will be persecuted. Let's see, we'll wrap up. We've got a few more seconds. I'll give you the conclusion. Everyone who says that being a Christian is easy is being disingenuous. Being a Christian is not easy, especially since the world is hostile to us because of what we believe and to whom we belong to. Following Christ through the turmoil of this life is well worth it. However, as God will extravagantly reward those who persevere in faith through the hard times of this life, both now and forever, we have victory in Jesus, and the world cannot take away what God has granted. Next week, we will study a portion of what is often known as Jesus' high priestly prayer. Be prepared by reading John, the 17th chapter. I hope you enjoyed our lesson today. God bless you. Until next week. Bye-bye.